All right, let's dive right in. We are talking about maybe the weirdest, most baffling mystery in all of physics, quantum entanglement. And today, we're going to look at a totally new way of thinking about it, one that might just crack the whole thing wide open. You've probably heard the phrase, right? Spooky action at a distance. That's what Albert Einstein called this stuff. I mean, even he was totally stumped by it. And why? Because entanglement seems to just break the rules. It looks like it violates the one speed limit in the universe you're not supposed to be able to break. So let's get into what this spooky action actually is. Okay, so here's the setup. You've got two particles, an entangled pair. Now, you can separate them by a few feet, a few miles, or even across the entire galaxy. It doesn't matter. The second you measure one of them, let's say you check its spin and find it's up, you know at that exact same instant that its partner is down. And when I say instant, I mean instant. There's no delay. It's like they're sending a message faster than the speed of light, which, well, that's supposed to be impossible. So what in the world is going on? What is this connection? And this is where things get really interesting. See, the whole paradox, the whole spooky part, only exists if we assume we're dealing with two separate things that are somehow sending signals to each other. But what if that's just not what's happening? What if the problem isn't the spooky connection? What if the problem is that our entire idea of space and what an object even is just plain raw? So let's talk about that. To get to the bottom of entanglement, we have to start with a huge shift in how we think about reality itself. We need to stop thinking of space as an empty box that things happen in. So, the central idea here is something called an oscillatory phase field. Look, don't worry about the fancy words. All it really means is that space isn't empty. It's not a vacuum. It's more like a physical substance, a field that is always constantly vibrating. So, space isn't the stage for the play. Space is the play. Everything that exists is just a behavior of this field. And this really flips the script on what matter is. Check out this quote. All that exists is self-oscillating space-time. What we call matter is the set of stable topological defects formed when space-time vibration condenses into phase-locked geometric knots. Whoa, so what's that saying? It's saying that particles, matter, all the stuff in the universe, it isn't separate from space. It's just what happens when the vibrations of space itself get tangled up into a stable little knot. Okay, so if space is this vibrating fabric, what does that mean for a particle, like an electron? Well, it's not a tiny marble anymore. It's something much, much cooler. Let's walk through it. First, you have this vibrating field. That's our space-time. Now, imagine that in some spots, those vibrations kind of fold in on themselves. They get trapped in a stable loop, a standing wave. It's kind of like a tiny, persistent whirlpool in a river. And that stable, self-trapped little knot of vibration, that's what we see and touch and call matter. This is the big idea, so let it sink in. Particles aren't little things floating around in space. They are literally a part of space. They're what space itself is doing in one specific spot, a little bit of trapped, vibrating geometry. Okay, so we've got our new toolkit, right? Space is a vibrating field. Particles are just knots in that field. Now, with those two ideas in our back pocket, we can finally go back to that spooky problem of entanglement and see how it all clicks into place.
Right, another technical term. Globally shared phase topology. Sounds like a mouthful, I know, but the concept behind it is actually pretty straightforward. It just means that a single unbroken geometric pattern, one single knot, can exist in more than one place in this space-time field at the same time.
And this is the whole shebang. So you can just throw out that old idea of two particles frantically sending secret messages to each other, because that was never, ever what was going on. Here's the solution. It's not two particles that are linked together. It is one single object, one extended knot. Those two particles you're measuring, miles and miles apart, they're just two different points on the exact same single unified geometric structure. You're just seeing two ends of the same knot. So let's put them side by side. The old view is stuck with this impossible idea of spooky action and faster-than-light signals. But the new view, it's just shared geometry. There's no signal being sent because nothing needs to be sent. When you poke one part of the object, of course you know something about the other part. They've been connected the whole time because they are, quite literally, the same thing. So if we take this idea and run with it, what does it mean for, well, everything?
The implications are absolutely huge. It paints a picture of a universe that is fundamentally connected in a way we're just beginning to grasp. So why does this matter so much? Well, for starters, the whole spooky action paradox just evaporates. Poof, gone. You don't need faster than light signals because, again, nothing is traveling anywhere. The information doesn't go from point A to point B. It's already at both A and B because A and B are just parts of the same shared structure. It means reality at its deepest level is geometrically linked together. It's all one piece. Look, if there's just one thing you remember from all of this, make it this. The spooky connection was never a connection at all. It was always just one object. The entire mystery was a result of us mistakenly thinking there were two separate things in the first place. And this, of course, leaves us with a pretty wild final thought. I mean, if two particles separated by light years can actually be just one object, what does that imply about everything else? Could it be that the entire universe, every star, every planet, you, me, we're all just different points on one single, unimaginably complex geometric object, a single unified structure made out of space-time itself? Now that is something to chew on.